Hi, I'm Katrina from The Gorgeous Geeks, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing someone who is near and dear to me, someone who has just published Superkid, and who's also a fellow Gorgeous Geek, my baby sister, Christina L. Barr.
Hello.
So tell everybody what Superkid is about.
Superkid is a book about a little 6-year-old boy named Felix Brown who he believes his life is kind of ordinary and boring, and his parents are kind of very boring and ordinary. And he believes that he has superpowers when he puts on his baby blanket and a pair of special shoes, and he takes upon himself to try to save the world in whatever way a 6-year-old can do that. And he teams up with a little girl named Kiara, who's a classmate who is far too intelligent for her own good, who, unbeknownst to Felix, has a crush on him, and so she kind of goes along with what he's saying because she wants to be, with his friend, be with them. And then they team up later with a neighbor who they first do a heroic act for, and he is the kid who actually believes they're superheroes who wants to study under them and wants to be like the Batman of their group, and train himself to be on their little league. And the three of them become a trio and go around doing good, and then there's a big climax at the end when they have to do this really big thing for the kids in the neighborhood. And it's a really great book. It's really funny, and it's for kids, but I'm really hearing kind of more positive things from adults.
Well, I've read the book a couple times, and I loved it, and I enjoyed it every single time I read it, because it brought back so many memories when I was a kid. Like, I could see myself in each and every single one of these kids, so specifically Kiara, who goes around and calls herself Princess Lady Diva, which is totally a name that I came up with for myself. And so it just brings you back to that time when you were a kid and you didn't have to worry about anything, but if you could be good and have ice cream for dinner. So it's as an adult, I love the book myself. So how did you come about doing Superkid?
Superkid is the 6th book that I completed, and right now I finished book 7 last year, at the end of last year, and I have been hearing stories about the crazy things my dad did when he was a kid, and I just thought, that would make a good story, and so I took a couple of those stories and just went on from there and tweaked them and gave them their own little personalities. And I mean, there's a lot of things that people read in this book. They can say that they did that. I mean, there's things in the book that I did. One signature move that I had when I attacked people made it in the book. Felix, his house is on a hill because we lived on a hill when we were kids, and there's just little things like that that are reminiscent of a lot of people's childhood, probably, but I mean specifically ours, because they're things that are that I remember that are fond to me that made it into the book.
Yeah, when I was reading it, I was like, yeah, that actually happened. Well, Felix does, he deals with a situation that's very current right now that is going around in news and schools and everything, which is bullying in the book. I want to talk a little bit about that.
Yes. Well, sometimes you can't do anything about bullying. When I was a kid, I didn't like injustice, and I would always try to stand up for kids. Other than a lot of people that I knew did. If you're being assaulted, that's a different matter. But
yeah, because then that brings in authorities, and that the law should.
Assault is assault.
Right.
But as far as some things you have to develop a thick skin for. Some things are uncalled for, but there's always going to be those kids
that say mean things.
Yeah. And sometimes people might say things about things you can't help, but like how you look or something like that. But sometimes people pick on you because you're just a kind of a unique person, and that's kind of how I feel. Like Felix is a unique individual who's his father says he suffers from an overactive imagination, and it is very overactive. Well, maybe not so much for a kid, you know. Maybe just, I mean, a bit active, but so I would say he's one of those individuals who's he does kind of do something that's really embarrassing, but he is a very unique individual, and sometimes when you are unique, you do get singled out. And he is teased a lot, and it's ironic because he believes he has these, you know, superpowers, that he can do so much, yet these people or some kids in his class are picking on him and you know, making him feel like, well, I think I'm special. I have friends that think I'm special. My parents say I'm special, then why don't I have more friends, and why are these people talking about me, and why do these hurtful things kind of happen? So it's kind of interesting to see how he deals with it. He gets advice from his teacher on how he should deal with it, and his dad how he should deal with it, and
also you show how his friends, you know, because you know, I've noticed this a lot. You know, when kids, you know, a parent can say a million different things to them, and a grown-up can tell them a lot of different things. But when a kid tells them, a kid their own age tells them something, gives them advice, they're more likely to listen to the kid. And so it's cool that you have all these different point of views in the book.
I mean, every situation is different because every person is different. Every individual. I mean, we're all individuals. So I can't give perfect. I can give you good advice, but I can't give you perfect advice made for your situation. So he gets a lot of advice, and he has to handle it in a certain way. And Superkid is the first one planned in the series, and it's gonna kind of be an ongoing theme of how far should he take it? Should he defend himself? How should he handle the situation? Because he doesn't want to become, you know, the thing he's fighting against. You know, he doesn't want to take it too far.
Right.
When he when he does retaliate, he doesn't want to become a mean kid.
Right.
So it's that battle of good and evil.
with others and within yourself. Yes. So I'm noticing you know, other people could probably notice that you have different nationalities with each kid. Was that something you did on purpose, or?
It was done on purpose. Actually, how I came about with Felix was because I was looking up unique names. Because, well, actually, no, it wasn't unique names. I was looking up ordinary, common names because this kid is so great. I wanted a contrast with a very common name. So I'm like, okay, well, Brown is going to be his last name. And I was looking through names, and I saw Felix, and I'm like, well, you know what? I don't hear that a lot, you know. So it's kind of unique for an uncommon name, you know, as far as I'm concerned, you know. So I'm like, well, you know what? I'm going to do that. And then I decided that he was going to be. Just on the spot, I decided he was going to be half Mexican, you know, half Caucasian. So,
because Felix is common amongst Mexican boys.
Well, I just looked at like the top 100 names or something like that, or maybe it was 1,000 or something like that. But I mean, that's how I got the name, and just instantly I knew that's what I was going to do. And when I just got the idea of Princess Lady Diva, she just fit how she just appeared, just how she is. It was just perfect, you know, Princess Lady Diva. It just seems too appropriate. I don't have to be all racial and stuff, but it just seems so appropriate.
Yeah, but you also, you know what, I think you're a bit biased because I'm seeing quite a few of us and our sisters.
And Kiara. We were rocking the poof.
Yeah, we all have the
even these little, you know, these little balls we had in our hair and stuff. So
and then Lee.
And then Lee, well, well, at that point, it was I want everyone to kind of feel represented. Because, you know, a lot of people don't feel represented. Like, we had, The Last Airbender came out, and a lot of Asians felt, you know, really angry because they felt like they were being whitewashed, which was the case. And a lot of people don't feel represented. And I know we have, a lot of black superheroes. Actually, we did a segment on black superheroes, but I mean, a lot of little girls, they don't feel like they can look up somebody and I mean, when you look at cosplay, you're like, well, who got a cosplay? You know, there's so many people you want to be, and like, well, I want to look like the person, so I don't want to dress up like, you know,
right,
like Jean or somebody, because I won't look like her, because I'm not white, you know.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I did think it would be cool to do something for, you know, minorities. So there you go. Not that
this isn't the only minority.
No, it's
story.
not. And there'll be other. I mean, there's other characters in the book of other, you know, that are white or and so on, and there's gonna be other characters as, you know, the series progresses.
But the main character is just, you know, a black girl, a half white, half Mexican, and a Chinese boy.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's very diverse, and Felix comes from an interracial family. And
you know what? And we grew up in a mix. I mean, the schools we went to. You know, it had a good. It was like a good melting pot. There was plenty of Mexicans and blacks and whites and Asians.
Yeah,
and
well, at least when I was,
well.
you know, we were living in Pontiac, we moved out.
Yeah, in the city. When we were living in the city, there was, you know, it was very vibrant, and there's a lot of different cultures, and you know, and everybody was mixing together. So that was also a good thing that I liked about the book, because it really reminded me, you know, of how we grew up, you know, with, you know, just one big melting pot. Okay, and you did all the illustrations yourself for the book.
Yeah, I did. I was kind of trying not to, because, I mean, it kind of takes me a while, and I've been a little bit out of practice, because, you know, I've been writing so much and doing other things, and so I really was kind of out of the habit, and I knew it would take me a while, it'd be a lot of hard work and stuff, and so I tried to kind of get someone else to do it who I knew was very capable, but I mean, they had school and other priorities, and so it kind of fell on my shoulders. I'm like, okay, well, I'm on a time crunch, and so I had to do the cover, and then I did the illustrations and everything, got it together. But, and you know, I really, you know, as it started going along, I'm like, do I like, well, you know, I really do like it. Now I guess I'm glad, because I get warm fuzzies when I look at them, and look at how adorable they are.
How long did it take you to write Superkid?
It took I would say 2 months, but I took a break to write another one. So it took maybe about 3.
You know, usually people say I took a break. It's like a year, you know, but Christina had to go just 3 months, had to push it out.
Well, writing consumes me, it makes me happy. And when I got home yesterday for my first book signing.
Yeah, you had your first book signing yesterday.
I said, well, we went out to dinner, and I said, I'm going to go home and I'm going to write until the words don't make sense anymore, and then I pass out. And that's how it's been, you know, most of my nights. And I even have a journal of the things that don't make sense. I'm going to publish it one day. And you are going to crack up when you read some of the things that I write when I'm sleeping. But I love to write. It makes me happy. And like, don't you want to take a break? I'm like, no, I want to work on the next thing. It fulfills me. And it's unfortunate that some people in life don't have something like that fulfills them so much. But this does, and I'm glad that I have a talent for it.
Now, you mentioned that about your book signing you had yesterday, which was quite successful. You had a lot of people come out, and you had it at a local comic book store, Comic City, where our family has been going for years to get comic books. How did it feel to have your first book signing? And, you know, I mean, it's such an accomplishment. You're only 22 years old. Some people don't hit this mark until they're in their 40s to even finally finish a first novel, first book. But you've done it at 22, and you've already had your first book signing. And how did it feel yesterday?
Oh, it felt really good, and it's just a stepping stone of my destiny, as I would like to say. I believe in myself. I know a lot of people, they might go on American Idol or something like that and say, oh, I never thought this would happen to me. I will never say that, because I believe that you have to have a purpose within your heart, and you have to work as hard as you possibly can, and you have to see where you want to be. You have to envision that even if you have nothing, you have to imagine that you have the whole entire world. And I do. I do.
Well, you know, everybody always says you have to think it before you can, you know, believe it, and before you can achieve it. And I think that's
well, actually, the thing of, I mean, we both graduated from Holly High School. It was a dream it, believe it, achieve it. Well, that was our theme. Or maybe I messed up the 3 and mixed them together.
Somewhere in that order.
It was somewhere like that, but you know, it's appropriate that I graduated from Holly High, and that was our theme, because you know it's true, you know. So yeah, you really have to see where you're going, and you have to, you know, research, do what you can, work as hard as you can, and if you are determined, then you can accomplish your goal. That's one of the fortunate things about living in America. You can have the American dream.
That's right. Now back to the illustration right quick. How did you choose to do the coloring of the? How did you pick the costumes?
Oh well, it's just things that kids would wear. You know, he had a. I mean, if you read the book, you know how they came up with their costumes. You know, I don't think a 6-year-old would whip out the leather and and the sewing machine. I've sewed leather; it's not easy. So maybe mom would do it on not our mom, but you know, you could have mom who's a seamstress who can do those kinds of things. But it's just simple things that kids would do. So that's basically how I just came up with the costumes. As far as the designs and the colors, from a standpoint of the cover, I know I made some decisions, like their eye color and stuff was just graphically, so it could be different and you know, look kind of cool from, you know, my visual eye. So
okay, so we mentioned earlier that a lot of the stories it's inspired by our father, and some of the things that Felix does and even Lee, you know, has done in the book are inspired by our dad. How does it feel to write a book inspired by your father?
It feels good. I mean, a lot of things that I write are, well, not a lot I would say, but you know, some things you do, even just maybe personality traits or something makes it into one book or another. But it's cool to have those, you know, experiences and those stories that you hear. And I'm like, well, I might as well do something with them.
Right.
But I mean, but some of the stories now I keep hearing ones that can make it into the book. And I'm like, I don't know about that
one. Because you already started writing the sequel.
I have already started the sequel. One story that I was upset didn't make it to the first one's in the sequel. But I'm really excited about the sequel. It's already started out really, really funny and enjoyable. And one of the Felix's main villains in the story isn't even like a person. It's consequences.
Yeah.
And it's a huge theme throughout the series. And even in the next one, you get to learn that even maybe some innocent, you know, his parents tell him some things that kind of feed into his imagination. And even in the second book, you find out some of the consequences. Not that they're huge, but you know, they have an impact. So I think it makes you kind of think of, well, maybe you should be more careful about the things you say and decisions you make. But it's in, you know, a really light and funny kind of way. It makes you think. And I guarantee this book will make you laugh.
Oh yeah.
It'll probably make you cry.
I've cried a couple times reading this book.
When I write something, you know, it's like, it's in first person perspective of Felix, so I'm writing the things he says. It's kind of like at the time that I am Felix when I'm writing this, so, you know, there are emotions that he had that I wrote down that I felt at the time, so, you know, I cried at, you know, at certain parts myself, which I wouldn't normally cry from the outside perspective, but a lot of other people have cried reading it, and, my sister Sabrina was like, you are so wrong for making me cry like that. And I'm glad that it evokes emotions from people.
Yes, there's been a lot of people who said that they can't put it down and that they, you know, read it through the night. And so that, you know, hearing those testimonies, you know that you have a really good book. And it really is a good book. I mean, I've read it 3-4 times, and, you know, I keep reading it over and over again and going over different parts and different things. Well, in the book, you kind of deal with, you know, touch on some, you know, father-son issues. And I know there's a lot of people, old and young, that have, you know, issues with their parents, specifically with their fathers as well. Can you touch on that without giving away too much of the book?
Well, it is very difficult to kind of talk about it without giving something away, because at one point it's such kind of a pivotal moment in the book between Felix and his dad. But kids don't always understand the things that their parents do, and even when you're older and an adult and paying your own bills and stuff like that, you can't understand unless you have your own kids. So, I mean, Felix is this little boy, and his dad is a big, bad, scary dentist who's tall and muscular, and he just looks like the biggest guy in the world, and it's just hard to talk to him because, you know, sometimes you're just afraid of your parents, you don't even know why. And his dad is really old school, even though he's really young, and he just maybe he thinks he's boring, kind of thinks he's lame, he kind of thinks he's mean, and he doesn't know how to talk to him sometimes. And, you know, sometimes kids feel like that. So at one point, him and his dad kind of have to have a breakthrough.
Mm-hmm.
And you might not really like his dad, maybe a bit, but you'll find out eventually why he is the way that he is. And at that moment, I think it'll relate to a lot of people, and hopefully some people who've been in similar situations will read it and understand and be able to grow from it and heal from a lot of hurts maybe that they've had in their life. And instead of taking maybe a big negative in their lives, they can turn it around and put a different perspective on it. Mm-hmm. And really grow as, you know, a human being, as a father, as a son, and just go on.
That's really cool. I think that's really good. I'm very proud of you, Christina. Yeah, because there is a healing process within the book, and I think that's why one reason why it's not just for kids, but it's also for adults too. Because I really think that if a grown up who maybe has had some, you know, problems with their parents and not understanding would read that, I think they might even get like a healing within themselves while reading the book.
I recommend reading it to your kids. Maybe if they're a little bit restless, you know, go just sneak off and read it in the corner yourself. But I definitely think
it's a family book. Yeah.
And but it'd be funny if you're reading it like, why are you crying, Dad? Nothing, son. Nothing.
Yeah, I think so.
It might be like that for some people.
It's
just it's emotional. It can get emotional.
What would you like to see happen with Superkid?
It blow up. I really would love to see it in film, and I already have my actors what I want to do, and I really would love to see this as a film. It reads like a family film that you know, it could be another classic like, you know, we love Little Giants.
Yeah.
And movies like, you know, Little Giants and Sandlot, you know, that kids watch over and over again. You never get tired of watching. I know, like, the new kid thing that's out is, you know, like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, you know, which that was really funny. I believe this is really funny, and people could really relate to it. Kids, of course, would relate to it. These kids are their age, you know, they think these things. Adults would really love it. There's a lot of jokes in it, and humor and wit that maybe it's not wit, you don't think, because in Felix's perspective, maybe it's not wit, but if you're an older person, you know, like, well, that's really funny, and little kids wouldn't be able to understand why that's so funny, because that's just how they think.
Right.
But it's kind of like, this book is kind of like reading an episode of Kids Say the Darndest Things.
It really is. It really, really is. This might be, you know, too soon or whatever, but if you could have any director direct it, do you have in your mind who would you like to direct it?
I really don't, not for director, actors. Yeah, I have ideas for actors, but I can't say I have any directors in mind.
Well, what ideas for actors do you have?
Well, it's something we talked about, and it would be really awesome if there is as many cameos from superhero movies as possible, or maybe just superhero-esque.
Just celebrities who have played actors in different...
You mean actors who have played...
Okay. You mean actors who have played superheroes in different movies and in television shows and stuff like that.
I would love if Felix's dad, who is a dentist, which is like the worst thing to a kid.
Yes.
I would love if it was Henry Cavill, who was going to play Superman in Man of Steel, and his name is Henry, which you don't find out to the name of... His father's name is Henry, which you don't find out to the end of the book, and it dawned on me the other day, I'm like, hey, they're both named Henry! It's so perfect! But I would love I think he would do a great job. I think Candace Accola would be
from Vampire Diaries.
Vampire Diaries would be a great Miss Huckleby.
Felix's teacher.
I think
who's not a superhero, but she has powers, and you know.
Oh, she became so kick butt when she became a vampire. I don't know about his mom. I really don't. There's other roles. I would love if Michael Keaton made a cameo appearance for a specific role, but I won't give it away. And in the sequel, there's a part I think Brandon Routh could do, and you know, if Tom Welling was interested in having a crew, you know, it would just
be cool to have as many people, especially people who've played like Superman or Justice.
There's a part in the second one I would love if Chris Hemsworth would do. I would love for him to do. In the beginning, Felix has like these imaginary parents that made him so amazing. You just have to kind of read it to understand. And or you could go to Amazon.com and go to look inside at least to read that to see what I'm talking about. But he has like these imaginary parents, and for the imaginary parents, I would love if his imaginary father was Chuck Norris.
Who's a superhero on his own right.
I know. He just made him so epic.
Right.
Like, because he came from Chuck Norris. And maybe Diane, can't think of her last name, who was Miss Universe, who's currently on the Celebrity Apprentice. Maybe he could be his imaginary mom. And Miss Universe and Chuck Norris just yeah. Only the universe is good enough for Chuck Norris. Put that on a t-shirt. And God makes an appearance in his, you know, imaginary world. I would love if Rainn Wilson from the Office was God. It would be perfect. If you read it, if you read God, it would be perfect.
Yeah, how he acts. He's just like, you know, he's funny, you know, and how in his mind of how he talks. So Rainn Wilson would be great.
He'd be epic.
And so not just superhero celebrities, but just specific celebrities.
Well, you know what? He'd just be perfect because he'd be perfect. You know, it doesn't have to be all superhero cast.
Well, Rainn Wilson did kind of play like this superhero type-esque thing, but. You know, but Chuck Norris and Miss Universe, I think that's, I think it's great. I mean, I love, you know, that would be just heaven if, you know, it did get turned into a movie, which, you know, we shall try our hardest and our darndest for it to be made into that. Okay, do you have any last minute thoughts or expectations for the book?
I do really want to get Superkid in schools. I think it would be a very good book for, I don't want to sound arrogant, but I think it would be a good book for people to study. Maybe I could see kids writing essays and you know, picking out the different themes and learning a lot and opening up their eyes and educating them. I think there's a healthy bit of vocabulary in it, and I mean, there's diversity, there's, you know, the hot topic, bullying, family relationships, family values, just a bunch of stuff in the book that's really educational and could really inspire kids, and I think they could learn a lot, the parents could learn a lot from it too. And even though, you know, it's like a middle grade chapter book, as I say, it's kind of a shame that you have to put it in a category at all. Yeah. You know, I know it's necessary for marketing and stuff like that, but it really is a book that kind of just breaks through, you know, every barrier. You know, when you go to movie theaters and you see little girls with these old women watching Twilight, it's like, someone shouldn't be in here. But everyone could go see this movie.
Right.
But I would love to see it in schools and libraries and stuff like that. Maybe some graphic novels too. There's a lot of adventures that I want to write with Felix. Maybe comic books could be the fantastical world he imagines. I don't know. That's something to brainstorm and think about. But I definitely could see this franchise just going on. I'd love to see kids dressed up as these three for Halloween. wearing Superkid shoes.
Oh yeah, Superkid
And
shoes.
call me Nike or Reebok or New Balance or whoever.
Whoever's the highest bidder. Yeah. So yeah, I can definitely see somebody dressing up like Superkid, Princess Lady Diva, and Stickman. So yeah, that'd be really cool. So I want you to look in that camera and tell people to buy Superkid.
Buy it now. No, seriously, it is a very great book. It's a great book to read to your kids or your nephews and nieces, or that they can be the excuse that you use to really get the book for yourself. I heard a lot of people at the book signing the other day say, I'm going to get this, for my nephew, but I'm going to read it first myself. Right. They're excited. People are, the adults really, really like this book, and I absolutely guarantee that you'll really like it. And go to the website. You can like it on Facebook. You can go to facebook.com/superkidthebook. Like it and get updates and stuff like that as they come. But make sure you buy it on Amazon.com. You can buy it on the Kindle or you can buy it in paperback. And recommend it to bookstores. Have it be put. Get the word out. Tell somebody else about it. I would love to see it in bookstores one day. And it would just fill my heart with such warmth.
And it'll fill your heart with warmth. Super warmth.
So much warmth.
So much warmth. Like epic. Epically warmth.
Epic warmth.
Epic warmth.
So go get the book.
Approved by Chuck Norris.
Approved by Chuck Norris. This was not endorsed by Chuck Norris. That's a disclaimer.
Yes.
But it's a really great book. You will love it. You will absolutely love it.
Check out the book. And for the YouTube users, it's down below. Look at the links and it's right there. Anyways, I'm Katrina.
I'm Christina.
And we're the Gorgeous Geeks. And this is freaking Superkid.